Lay. Sir. Yeah. Yeah.
Kane is in the building.
Yeah. Already the show goes on all night. Till the morning we dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the sun? Just remember when you come to the show. What's up? Alright, already the show goes on all night. Till the morning we dream so long. Anybody ever wonder when they would see the sun? Just remember when you come to the show goes on. Have you ever had the feeling that you was being had? Don't that shit that make you mad? They treat you like a slave, put chains all on your soul and put whips up on your back. They be lying through they teeth.
What's up, everybody? Overseas Famous Podcast. Today we have a great guest, Jon Guarna. Jon is an American, Brooklyn, all about the New York, went to Monmouth, actually announced our games at Monmouth University, and ended up in Australia, and now is an NBL, which is the National Basketball League in Australia, sideline reporter, which is an awesome gig. He's been doing a lot of podcasting and announcing over in Australia, and I'm super psyched to have him on today. Old friends reuniting and kind of talking a little bit about the Australian lifestyle, because that's what I feel like we like to talk about, and exactly how you get there. There's more to overseas basketball than just players. There's a whole lot of other people who travel overseas to pursue a dream in sports, whether it's behind the camera or in front of it. What's up, Jon?
Yo, Kev. What's up, man?
Nothing, man.
It's been a
Feast
crazy
mode.
week. Yeah, man. Have a drink.
Mhm.
I may grab one of these once we get Jon in here. Oh my God, that looks delicious. What are you drinking?
So I was gonna get. I ended up going with Four Roses. It's been a stressful week, Jon, as you know. So
Oh my God, the emails just keep flowing, bro. It just
yeah,
doesn't
they
stop.
just keep coming in. Anytime your workplace COVID gets involved, becomes stressful. So we're just drinking. We also like to thank, huge shout out to Viking Revolution today for supplying all the product for this wonderful beard that you see in front of you.
Oh my God, listen, I've actually been wanting to ask you about the whole beard oil thing. You and I talked about it a while back. I wanted to ask you what you're using. My fiance got me a little bottle of something that I've been using a little bit, but I'll have to try that. That's Viking.
We got to get you on the Viking. I'll tell Viking Revolution to send stuff for everyone.
Come on, Viking, hook me up, man.
Yeah, seriously, we got to get Jon in here. I think Jon's got a beard.
Videos on YouTube and stuff like that.
I want to see if Jon's got a beer. We'll get the whole crew fired up. Let's get Jon in here.
All right, Jon, let's put money. Does Jon have a beer in his hand? What time is it like? It's probably like 7 a.m. in Australia.
Yeah, no, it's early, and I think he's at work. He definitely doesn't have a drink in his hand, but I want to see if he's got a beard. There's a beard. I see a beard.
Definitely
What's
have
up,
the.
Jon?
How you going, Kev? Good to see you.
All right, you just answered one of my favorite questions, which was, like, how's your Australian accent? And you came in immediately with the how you going, and now it's like awesome. I'm just like, okay, we're good, we're golden.
I am definitely Australian. It's been about 13 years now. I think I've been here, so almost half my life.
That's crazy. It's so funny, and I like hear you. When I was tuning into some of your stuff, I know with Danny George and stuff, who I played with. It was cool to kind of hear your voice, because you're a New York guy, but then you got that New York flair, but then you got the Australian thing going on too. So it's really cool to hear that kind of mix.
It's funny, Kev, when I talk to people at home or when I come back home and visit with my friends and my family, everyone says I sound Australian, and
Yep.
I can't hear it. And then here, everyone says I sound like an American from New York, and I don't hear it here either. So I'm in that gray zone, I think, where I don't know where home is at the moment.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
That's right.
This is one of the cooler things, Jon. Just talking about the transition to Australia to be a full-time resident of Australia. Take us through that, because we were in your intro. We mentioned we talked about what you're doing now with the NBL and the sideline reporting. But the cool thing is, take us through how you got to Australia and what your career has gone through, or where have you gone in your career to take you to this moment where you currently are at?
Well, I'm not sure if you remember, Kev, but back at Monmouth, I was a mature age student, and I was married when I was at Monmouth. I got married to a wonderful Australian woman, my wife now, Caitlin. And the plan always was, even before we came out here, to come and live in Australia. And I said that, and I made that commitment before I had ever actually been out here. And I just knew a lot of Australian people, how great and wonderful they are, how beautiful the country is. And, I just thought it would have been a great opportunity for me. And, so one day we said, okay, let's stop talking about it and let's do it. And, we bought some flights, we came out here, and 13 years later, I'm here, I'm settled in. And, I'm a dual citizen. I have my Australian citizenship. My son was born in the States, and then we moved here when he was about 8 or 9 months old. My daughter's born here. And, I feel really lucky and blessed to be living here and have two homes. I still have all my family and friends back in the States, in New York and New Jersey, and up and down the East Coast and spread out across the country. But, I definitely consider Australia home as well. It's just a great place. I've had some great opportunities here, personally and professionally. And yeah, I think it's interesting when I look at it from a professional standpoint. I never really thought the opportunities that I'm having at the moment would be available to me here. I came and I moved to Brisbane, Australia, which I'm sure you're familiar with, Kevin, but it's not a sports production town. It's the third largest city in Australia, but most of the sports production, at least, comes out of Sydney and Melbourne. And for the longest time, I think my ignorance and arrogance, I guess, coming from America, working in, you work in Manhattan, you work for CBS Sports, you work for NBC Sports, you work for some big national organizations, you think, oh, I'll get job opportunities thrown at me left and right coming down to Australia. But, it didn't happen, and mostly because I was in Brisbane and the opportunities were in Melbourne and Sydney, and my family and I did not really consider moving down there and living down there. We wanted to be close to my in-laws, my wife's family. And, so for the longest time, the opportunities weren't there, Kevin. And, I think it was just fortunate that things kind of came through for me in a sense. I had lost my job at the time. I was unemployed. And I saw this ad online for, a radio presenter to help out on a local sports show. And I called the guy up, and he said, come down next Saturday, and one thing led to another, and here I am.
That's so cool. And well, I love the fact, I mean, you announced games at Monmouth, and when I was playing, I knew the cool thing, and I told John this, the cool thing about it is, small school like that, we all traveled together. We all flew on the plane together. We all traveled on the bus together. We hung out in the hotels together. It was, it was a fun trip. I feel like we were able to do a lot of things together. So our friendship and like knowing you throughout that time, it's really cool that you ended up in Australia. Now, you weren't there when I was there, correct? Because I was there in 2006, 2007.
No, I just missed you. I was here. So my son was born in 2007, and we were here early 2008. So I had just missed you.
And I remember, because I remember, like, I was like, we reconnected, and I was like, oh shit. Or you know what, John Hunt, producer John Hunt. I promised a friend of mine I wouldn't curse tonight. That was like one thing that I actually promised.
That lasted what, like 5 minutes? What?
Where are we at? Oh, we're not that far in.
We need to
that's all right.
a like one of those jars where if you curse, you got to put like
because I feel like I curse a lot
in there.
That was the one thing he said. He was like, I love the podcast. He's like, you curse a lot, and I was like, I know. I was like, I need to watch that. I just So that was my bad.
Let it go, Kev. Let it go, Kev. That's you. You got to keep it real. Got to keep it real.
But I love the fact that you're able to kind of go into the market. You obviously work with Dan George,
yes.
Danny George, who was one of my teammates for the Cairns Taipans when I was in Australia. Tell us about that experience, how you kind of got hooked up with him And, I know you guys are still, talking and remain close to this day.
Yeah, Dan is a really good friend of mine. And, I think for me, the introduction to Dan was through a great mutual friend and one of my best friends in Australia, Dave Derwin. So it's a really complicated and kind of long story. So I'll try and keep it tight for you. But Dave Derwin and I became really good friends working together. He was involved in one of the local state league teams, one of the associations, the Southwest Metro Pirates. Dave and I started talking. He said, "Oh, do you like basketball?" And one thing led to another. And Dave said, "Come out and coach with me." And I went out and I helped him out with an under 14s team that, believe it or not, was one of the more talented teams in the state. So we actually got to go to nationals, but that's a whole nother story. But over the course of time, knowing Dave and getting to know some of the associations out here, I realized that we had this state league competition, and it was actually a really, really good competition. And they were not getting any media coverage. Going back to my community radio volunteering, I connected with a guy, another really good friend of mine, John Devine, who was doing some radio streaming on his own of a lot of state league competitions across various sports, cricket, rugby league. And I thought, well, if John's doing this for those sports, why can't I do this for the state league here? And Dave Derwin and I started doing that at the Southwest Metro Pirates, and it was really, really well received. Dave and Dan George are really good mates, and I don't know how much you know of Dan's background, but Dan had had a battle with cancer, and thankfully it has come through on the other side and is doing tremendously well. But Dan, going through that battle, really wanted to do something and give something back to the community, so he had started the Still Our Rise Foundation. And Dave, Dan, and I worked together on some basketball-related charity events to help raise some money for the Still Our Rise Foundation, and we became close friends. And as the radio stuff started to pick up a little bit, and it later then became live video streaming for the state league competition. And I thought, Dan has the knowledge, the game, the experience, played in the competition, played at the NBL level. Dave also played in the state league competition and coached at the NBL level as well. So the three of us, we like to dub ourselves the real big three. There was a fake one down in Miami. We were the originators of it. But we then just started doing the commentary, the three of us, and that's really how we've become really close with Dan, and that's how I know Dan through Dave. But you know what it's like, Kevin, when you come out here, you play, you get to know everyone across every team, every state, and it's a connection that you have forever.
It's crazy because it's so true. When I was playing, I felt like I developed relationships even with teammates that I played against. Like I still, one of my close friends who I talk to all the time is Nick Horvath, who played for Adelaide, played for the Dragons for a bit. But I still talk to him all the time. He's in New Zealand because we played together for the Wellington Saints in the New Zealand Basketball League during the off season, and we became very close. It's crazy, like how close you get with guys. Like I know I talked to Adam Ballinger. I hung out with and talked to a bunch of those guys, Redditch, and even my old teammates from Cairns. I still am in contact with them. It's crazy how like Australians are about staying in contact with each other. It's a very interesting trait. I know I wrote about it in my book. Like Australians are like the nicest people in the world. They're fucking crazy, but they're the nicest people in the world. Like I can't say enough about the country, and it's like so dope that you're able to get over there and just like live your life. That's why
it is.
That's why you marry Australian people.
I'm so lucky to marry an Australian, but also to be living here, like you said. And I think the craziness, the looseness, as we say down here in Australia, is certainly part of the charm. And I think, competition-wise, Kevin, it's a small league. It's not a huge league. We have 9 teams. Each team, at least for this season, will have 2 imports. Previous seasons, pre-COVID, and I'm sure will be post-COVID. You have the three imports, and if you're a good guy and you play hard and you work hard, I think your teammates respect that. I think it helps you bond with your teammates and the community. I've heard you say before on the podcast where, the community will definitely embrace you, but you have to have the right characteristics to get the community behind you. And I think if you mirror what Australians are about, which is putting your head down, working your ass off, and showing that and giving back, I think you'll be fully embraced. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why you have such great connections here in Australia, because that's who you are as a person and how you were as a player.
And I appreciate that, and that's like the cool thing. I do think, that was my style of game. I didn't, and it was like almost in Cairns. Like I felt like I had to score more, and I had to be the import because Damon Thornton was hurt a lot of the year, and I was the only import. It was me. Darnell Mee was technically an import, but he was a naturalized citizen. So we had Damon there, but Damon was hurt. And it was like I was the only import. And I remember the pressure that I felt like of that, but I was like, you just got to bust your ass. Like, just bust your ass every day. Just go out and go and go and go. And like, I felt like my teammates respected that. And then the fans respected that. And it was an incredible experience. And that's what I always say. Like, I went to Korea the next year and I had a few offers from Australia, not with the Taipans, because I know Nate Juai was coming up and he was my position and he was the superstar young player. So they're like, we're not going to bring an import in for this position. But I had other opportunities in Australia and I went to Korea, and that just was a fuck show. So,
well, I think Kev, that time you had to produce. You always kind of feel the pressure as an import coming overseas to produce, and a lot of the times you are judged by your numbers, which is unfortunate. And I think when you do work hard, though, I think especially with the way that basketball is played now, I think that you can get a little more leverage in a sense when you are producing on the defensive side of things, when you are rebounding the ball. And back then, I do feel like you had to put up the numbers and put up the numbers quick if you want to stick around for a little while.
No, you're right. It's like you said, it's not a huge league in terms of the number of teams, but it's definitely I've learned over time how respected the league is. I know Chris Anstey posts stuff. He was talking about a player who he's just like, listen, you can't come don't treat Australia like it's like some Bush League. Like, this is the real deal. You got to come, you got to be in shape, you got to be ready to go. And Chris was talking about this it was resonated with me just because when I looked at Australia, every time I compare it, and it's so hard to compare these leagues, but every time I compared the Australian NBL, I talked about how it was very similar to the NBA in terms of, every stadium was full. You weren't playing in front of empty arenas. Every stadium was full. The fans were really into it. We were superstars. Like, you were in Australia and like although you were in a different country, it's like the NBA experience being a player because you walk the streets and people know who you are. That's how Overseas Famous started, because I was like, I bet if I went back to Cairns, Australia, people were like, holy shit, it's Kevin Owens. And that's like something that I was like, well, I'm not famous. Like, I can walk through Cherry Hill and people are like, who are you? And like, even, so it's like, it's crazy because I think the league is so powerful. And I think it's very similar to the NBA because it's globally huge, but on top of that, like, just being in Australia, like, you are a superstar if you play there.
For sure, Kevin, and I agree with you in the sense that it is a lot like the NBA. And I think when they revamped the NBL over the last few years, I think they made a conscious effort to have that connection to the NBA in more ways than one. I think the way that they govern the game, the way that they referee the game is very much like the NBA, a little more free-flowing. It's still physical, and Australian basketball will always be known as a physical team game, but I think it's a little more free-flowing. The connections now with all these different NBA players and owners and general managers investing in teams drafting players and sending them over here to play has really helped the style of play. And the basketball community here has continued to grow. I mean, with the explosion of the internet and being able to see more games globally, not just for us here in Australia, the NBA is readily available. I think if you look at subscriptions to the NBA app, I think Australia always ranks number one for subscriptions because we love basketball down here. Numbers wise, participation numbers, especially at the junior levels, are up there with AFL and NRL. So I think the recent run of the NBL has really helped. We're starting to see more and more kids choose basketball in their youth and stick through it to those junior national and to the NBL level. So it's a really, really good competition, and I think the NBL has made some smart decisions. Purely, let's talk about LaMelo Ball and the eyes that he put on the league, and then making the league available overseas. You could watch every single game live on Twitch if you want to, and I think that was a really, really smart decision by the powers that be here in the NBL to open that up and give the opportunity for international fans to watch the league, because it is a really, really great league.
It's crazy because I always list the teams that I still follow. I watch, and you're a Knicks guy, correct? Still,
100%. Unfortunately for me, it's been a painful lifetime. Hopefully that pain subsides at some point.
Well, it's funny because a friend of mine who's actually going to come on the show pretty soon. He played a little bit overseas, played at Vermont, then went to St. Anselm, was coaching at St. Anselm for a while, and now is an assistant with the Knicks because, Leon Rose took over, and, he was friends with Sam, but he was also a tremendous coach. So, that wasn't nepotism. That was him working his ass off. So it's pretty cool that he was able to, get there, and he's now a Knicks assistant. So currently he sent me some gear. So I have a Knicks long sleeve. I have a Knicks hoodie. I have some Knicks gear, and it's funny, I wear it around because I'm supporting Chris, and people are like, what the fuck are you doing, dude? You're a Sixers fan. I was like, dude, it's the one team where you can wear it and people will be like, oh, whatever, we're good.
Well, I'm to be honest with you, Kev, I'm a little shocked too. I never thought I'd see the day. I mean, you guys down in South Jersey take your Philly sports pretty seriously.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised you're brave enough walking around at home with the Knicks on.
True, yeah. I mean, I am 6'10", so people would be like, oh.
Doesn't hurt. It definitely doesn't hurt. Me at 5'10" might not cut it, but you at 6'10" certainly cut a much more intimidating figure than I would, for sure.
So let's talk about how Australia has handled the pandemic. So I've been watching the Taipans. I've watched them, highlights. I've watched a few, segments of games. And there's a crowd there. So we talk about how America's handling the pandemic, which is, a catastrophe, and then how Australia handled the pandemic, where they're able to have people in. So talk to us about how this was handled in Australia, where you're able to have more live events with fans during sport now.
Well, it's been interesting to say the least. If we're looking at it purely from a sports perspective, ultimately each competition and team is guided by the state rules and whatever is implemented at that time. State by state in Australia, COVID has had some impact, obviously, but here in Queensland, we were quite lucky in the sense that it never really got too crazy up here. A lot of the outbreaks were down in Sydney and Melbourne, the two most populous cities, go figure. And basically those states had to close the borders and keep the residents in to keep the COVID from spreading any further. With those rules, then obviously the states had to determine how they were going to allow sports to happen, and it's changing all the time, Kevin. It's just. I did a game, the Brisbane game on Tuesday, which was Australia Day. It was the first time we were able to have a full capacity crowd, and there was really no restrictions from a fan's perspective. You can come, you didn't have to wear your mask, you didn't have to wear gloves, you could sit in your seats, you can move around freely, you can jump up and down and do anything else that you wanted. But from a game delivery perspective, as the sideline reporter, I still had to wear my masks around because what they've done is they've made what they'll call a clean zone, which is basically the court and the surrounding around the court as the clean zone. So anyone up to a certain point in time if you are in there, you have to enter with a mask or gloves, and then you have to at the very least have the mask on outside of that clean zone. When the game is on, though, they ask no one that has not been in the zone to come into the zone. So players, coaches, staff, everything like that are considered clean. They're asked not to step out of that clean zone. It takes you back into the locker rooms. It comes out onto the court, and that's pretty much the clean zone. Anything else outside of that is determined as a dirty zone, and you're not really allowed in there. So if you've seen on the calls, a lot of the commentary from the sideline reporters is done off camera, at a bit of a distance, and that's just to keep the players safe. But it was Brisbane versus Sydney, and I was talking to the coach, Adam Ford of the Sydney Kings. He said they hadn't been home in a month, and they weren't looking to get back down to. They weren't sure when they were going to get back down to Sydney. They're down in Adelaide this weekend. They're going to be playing in Adelaide again the following weekend. WA, Western Australia, only opened up to certain states last week, so Perth was able to have some home games. The New Zealand Breakers are here in Australia, and they're based in Australia because their international travel is not allowed. So they're traveling around and moving base to base. They were in Tasmania for a while. Now they're in WA. They're down in South Australia. The Queensland teams are able to have people coming in and out. So again, that's why Brisbane has been home for the first 3 rounds. Cairns as well has been home for the first 3 rounds. And so, the NBL they're putting out schedules, but it's almost a week or two in advance because everything is up in the air at the moment.
Well, I do love and it's funny because, like I said, I have so many connections with Australia that today, as I'm scrolling through social media, I see your kids are back at school. I see the Kane Oakleys and, like all of these different people that I'm friends with in Australia. Everyone went back to school today. It seemed like today was the first day that school began. So what's going on off the court in terms of trying to keep Australia safe from this virus?
Well, again, it varies state by state, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, international travel is off. The borders are shut for Australia. People will, not be able to come back into the country. Mostly, the only people that are coming back into the country are Australians overseas that are coming back home, and that's where they're finding most of any of the cases. Really, is people coming back in and going directly into quarantine. So it's a mandatory 2-week hotel quarantine. Doing a lot of testing, retesting, and they had restrictions. I think Queensland is just opening up the borders to all of New South Wales, I think starting February 1st. So just as an example, I'm in Brisbane, which is southeast Queensland. My mother-in-law lives in northern New South Wales near Byron Bay. So for us to go and see her over the Christmas break, we had to apply for a border pass. You have to declare that you haven't been in any hotspots or any declared hotspots. You then can go. We were able to go into New South Wales freely without any border pass. But when we come back into Queensland, there's a lineup at the border. They're checking your passes. And if it's not legit, they pull you to the side. They give you all kinds of questions. And if you try to enter the state illegally, it was something like a $3,000 fine. So it's in a way, it's been draconian, but I can't complain because, ultimately though, we haven't had much COVID, so we've been quite lucky that way.
It is cool. I love hearing just what's going on in other places and how this is being handled in other spots. So back to the NBL, and I kind of, and it's funny because I'm trying to think. I'm like, and I didn't do my research on this enough, so I need to actually, because I was like, I'm pretty sure that name sounds familiar, and I'm like, what was the first name? Josh Giddey.
Yes.
He is the guy, and a lot of people, even I talk to my friends who are huge NBA fans, they have no friggin' idea who Josh Giddey is. But being that I follow a lot of things that are going on in the NBL and follow Australian basketball, Josh Giddey is a name that I've heard over and over again as a potential lottery pick come NBA draft time. So Josh is the son of who?
Jeez, you put me on the spot here, Kev.
I
need to do my research too. I know his father is a really well-respected professional basketball player here in Australia. If I told you his name though, I'd stuff it up. I would get it wrong.
So I'm like I'm looking. What personal life? Here we go. Warwick. Okay.
That's right. Sorry, I was way off. I was going to throw something out there, so I'm glad I didn't.
So was I. I was way off. I was thinking Adam Giddey, Warwick Giddey. All right, I don't think I played against him or have any affiliation with him, because I was like, did I play against his dad? Because I know a lot of people are just like, the Jonathan Simmons thing, and they're just like, oh, I played with Jonathan Simmons, and now you're like, well, Ben Simmons, obviously.
Yep.
So it's pretty funny because I was like, I wonder if I played against his dad, and I was like Josh Giddey, and I was like, oh shit, I never researched if his dad was like, if I played against him, but I don't remember Warwick David Giddey, so maybe I didn't. Maybe I did.
No, I think he would have been before your time, Kevin. I think so. Yeah, he goes back to the Andrew Gaze days. He's good mates with Andrew Gaze. Played for the Melbourne Tigers for a long time, and Josh Giddey is a very exciting player. He's someone that is the NBL is extremely high on, and he's performing really, really well. He almost had a triple-double last night in another Adelaide win over the New Zealand Breakers. And the thing that's exciting about him is he is a legitimate first-round potential draft pick, and he's only 18. He's 6'7", 6'8". He's a point guard. He's got really great vision. Athleticism-wise, probably not at that super high athleticism level that you see a lot with your typical NBA point guard, but he plays with a really calm, composed game for someone so young. It's been really, really impressive. He's got great vision. He plays really hard, and as a typical Australian, he works his ass off. He's tough. I don't know if you saw they had a double overtime win against Southeast Melbourne Phoenix last week, where he got the steal, goes away on the breakaway dunk, slams it with two hands, hangs on the rim, and literally falls right on his face, gets back up, shakes it off, plays the rest of the game, gets a big win, and then has to sit out the next two games because he's in the concussion protocol.
Yeah, I was like, he got really messed up on that. Like, he hit hard, and he's popped right back up. And that's like what I always talk about Australians. Like, I think the three things that I said about Australians is like they're the nicest human beings. They're fucking crazy, and they also are like tough as nails. Like they're like just tough dudes. Like they'll sit there and I always said, like, they'll go and like, fight you, and then be like, lift you up and be like, all right, let's grab a beer. It's like I've never seen anything like that. It's like so foreign, but it's awesome. It's just a great quality.
It is, and from a basketball perspective, Kevin, I think that play by Josh Giddey is like your prototypical Australian basketball player right there, where hustle, gets the steal, gets the acrobatic play, finishes strong, smashes his face, stands up, and gets ready to go again. And that's, to me, that's Australia in a nutshell. You hit it on the head.
All right, so we're gonna do a little something where I'm gonna talk to you about your favorite, and like I have some Australian slangs and terms, and like some of these I know, but like, do you use these in your normal repertoire? Like, are these things that you actually say on a daily basis? Because I swear to God, John, I will say "how you going" to people.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, it's just, and I was only there for like a year, but like New Zealand too, there's like similar, but that was like more like "how is it, brew?" But like
That's pretty good, Kevin. You haven't been down here for a while, so it's good to see that you're still good with the accent.
Yeah, I'm trying. And it's funny because I'm like, we're doing the audiobook of my book, and I'm like, there's like, I do a lot of accents, like me not do, like I write a lot of accents on there. So I'm like, my voice acting skills have to be on point because I'm going to have to voice act the shit out of these. And I was like, my Australian is not as good, but like, I feel like my New Zealand, like, yo, how is it, bro? Like that, like whole thing. But it's like, how you going, and like, it's like just a different sway. So, all right, let's go into these. Arvo, do you use that a lot?
100% all the time, and it's actually one of my favorite words. I think it's a great word, and it's funny because I have 2 kids and they're Australian, so they're using it all the time, and I think I almost have to keep up with them. So Arvo is definitely something, but I used to use that back home because like I said to you earlier, my wife is Australian. It's something that she says all the time also. So I think I was using that even before I moved down here.
That's great. So, and I'm going to translate for our listeners. And John, I was going to translate for you too. AFL, John was talking earlier about AFL and NRL. That's like, AFL is like this crazy, it's like rugby combined with the NFL, but no one's wearing pads. They're actually wearing short shorts and tank tops, no helmets. And that's just right. Like, yeah, the ball, they like punt it, and the guys come in and just fucking drop each other. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, it's like, I don't know if you remember, Kevin, but like super late on MSG network, they used to have the AFL, like it'd be on like 2-3 o'clock in the morning, and you'd turn it on and you'd go, what the hell is this game? and we used to call it kill the man with the ball, because that's just what it was like. And but to be honest with you, it's an awesome sport, and they do actually have some really good connections to college basketball and the NBA, where there are recruiting services that look to identify guys who probably aren't going to make it in professional basketball, but who might be athletic enough to transition to the AFL. And Mason Cox, who I believe, I can't remember what college he went to, but he went to a pretty high-level Division I school. He plays for Collingwood, and he's one of the best AFL players in the competition. Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you may have missed your calling, Kev. You could have been overseas famous for playing AFL. How's your punting? Are you a punter at all? Can you kick?
My brother's a good punter. I am terrible. Like I was like, my brother used to play goalie. He used to punt the ball forever, and I'd be like, damn. And then I punt it, and I can't feel my quad for the rest of the day. I'm like, this sucks.
All right. Well, if I know your brother balled too, but he may have missed his calling as well. if any relatives or anything turn out to be 6'10" or plus, like the Owens brothers, just to let us know. If basketball doesn't work out, there might be a future in the AFL for them.
I love it. All right, next word, bottle-o.
Bottle-o. I wouldn't say I use that one all that much. Occasionally I do. I'll acknowledge the fact, though, if my wife asks, hey, Jono, do you need anything from the bottle-o? And I know exactly what she's asking for, but I probably don't use it all that much myself. I can't say I do.
All right.
Wait. What the fuck is that?
Oh, sorry. Bottle-o is like a liquor store. Sorry.
The bottle for us to know.
I gotta.
To Australia, I need to know what the fuck I'm doing over there. All right, come on, man. It's an educational show.
All right, this one was like one of my favorite, because we used to say it all the time. Be like, fucking root 'em, mate, and like root. Obviously, and this is a tough one because John is married, so like I feel like that's like a real big locker room. So root is like to fuck.
That's right.
Yeah. So that was a big one, but I feel like that's like a tough one because like you're a married dude, so like you're not walking around and being like, oh, did you root her?
No, I definitely I would keep that one in the locker room for sure. But every now and then you let it slip at home. You say, all right, kids, who you guys rooting for today? And then they just lose it because they don't know rooting is cheering. They know rooting is fucking. So, I have to be careful in my placement of and use of that word for sure.
That's so good.
I'm never going to hear that word again without thinking.
No.
Oh yeah, rooting. Like that was like, who you rooting for? And be like, KO, what the fuck? And then you'd be like, oh, shit.
Yeah. You're not getting paid to root, unfortunately, are you, Kev?
Yeah, definitely not.
Listen, if this podcast doesn't work out, that's the next step.
Yeah, rooting. Yeah, porn is like pretty much where we're going. It's different levels. Podcasting, write a book, porn.
Yes.
Listen, I hope the other two work out for you, Kev, because I don't know if that's the last resort. If that was me, I'd be broke, living on the streets for sure.
Sweet As is a good one. Sweet As, do you use that a lot?
Sweet As, I definitely use that one. I love that. Also, I think it's I can't say I use it all the time, but it's a really good one. I think my kids use it a bit, and I think it's almost become more Kiwi than Australian to tell you the truth.
I feel like Sweet As was very Kiwi.
Sweet As, bro.
Yeah, Sweet As, bro. Like that. Sweet As is like, that's awesome. Like, that's cool.
I love it. Oh no, I don't. I can't say servo. I just can't. It doesn't roll off the tongue as well for me as it does for the native Australians. I still go to the gas station.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. They're like, yo, get some petro, like servo, hit the servo.
I do say petrol. I do say petrol, but just not servo.
All right, this is always a good one. Togs. I never understood that, and I was like, they're like, get your togs on. I'd be like, I don't know what you're just saying to me right now.
We definitely use togs in the house. Again, I think that's the wife's influence, especially with kids. My daughter is a swimmer. She loves swimming, and it's always, Sophia, did you bring your togs? Make sure you don't forget your togs. We call them dick stickers. There's all sorts of names for them as well. I guess it depends on the style. Budgie Smugglers also is a good one, Kev, if you want to use an alternate to togs.
That's awesome. So, John, togs is bathing suit. It's like getting a bathing suit on. Like, get your swimsuit on. Like, get your togs on.
Your swim shorts, your bathing suit, whatever. Yep.
What did you call them, John? Dick stickers?
Dick stickers, yeah. Yeah, it's just they're almost like painted on, aren't they? I don't know where it comes from, but that's what a lot of people. Your DTs, I mean, your budgie smugglers, all kinds of things. Yeah, remember, Australians are coming from European descent. A lot of the Australians, so they wear the bikini bottoms, I guess.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I've been to Europe a times. Familiar.
Full on.
Yes. Full on.
Full on. The what do we call them here? I don't even know what they call it. What do they we don't call them nut huggers. Like, what do you call that? Like a banana hammock. That's what the word.
Banana hammock. Yeah.
Banana hammock. I was like, shit. What? I can't think of. Yeah. How could I not think of banana hammock?
The good old DTs, the budgie smugglers. That's it's just great. Yeah.
John, honestly, this was freaking awesome to talk to you, get a little influence, get to hear what's going on in the Australian NBL. We're super psyched that you are, sideline reporting. So real quick, last thing, take us through what you usually your responsibilities are as the sideline reporter in the NBL.
So it's a new one for me, Kev, so I'm still definitely learning it. But my responsibilities are pregame interviews. So I'll interview either players or coaches. I'll also do halftime interviews going into the timeout or into the locker room, coming out of the locker room. I'll do post-game interviews with the player of the game. Some of the other responsibilities I have also, identifying any people, whether it's celebrities or other famous basketball people that are in the crowd that we might want to talk to, or at least help the team on the ground get some visual of them. And then also listening in to timeouts, talking about what's happening in the crowd, breaking down the plays, talking about what's happening in the timeouts, trying to give that extra visual because I'm the only person from the commentary team that's in the arena. So everything is being done out of a hub back in Victoria, in Melbourne or Sydney. So communicating back to those guys about what's happening on the ground, trying to give them that little extra insight that you wouldn't have being calling the game from the hub.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
It's been great.
Yeah, that's super cool. I didn't even think about, I know a lot of even NBA, NFL and stuff like that. They're doing a lot of things, college football, college basketball. They're doing a lot of things from their homes. But that's pretty cool. Like it's cool that you're like you're pretty much running the show because everyone's off in other places. But that's super cool. John,
Yeah,
when I get back to Australia, just do me a favor so I can pretend that I'm overseas famous. If I show up to a game, I'm going to let you know so you could immediately spot me and then come interview me. So people are like, who's that? And be like, oh, remember that guy? He played here a year. He was kind of okay. He made the All-Star team. No? Anyone? No? Okay, good. And then
I promise you, Kevin, I promise you that we will get you on camera and we will have that interview for you to maintain your overseas famousness.
That's all I'm trying. That's all I'm looking for. That's all. It's all about maintaining the fame. That's all right. I want.
Well, we'll do everything. You know, I'll always do everything I can to help you with that, Kevin, for sure. 100%.
That's great, John. This is awesome. It was great catching up with you. It was great talking to you. Great insight on the Australian NBL. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin. It was definitely great catching up with you, and I appreciate the chat, and all the best with everything. Looking forward to the book and the audio book as well. I can't wait to hear more of your accents.
It's going to be great acting right there. Voice acting extraordinaire. John, you rock. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, John. All the best.
Thanks, brother.
Sounds good. Awesome. That was super fun. Jon Guarna, and that was see, these are my favorite, like coming on and talking with people I know. Lots of fun. So that was super cool. All right, get my brother in here.
Yeah, we got a second Owens in the green room. Here he comes.
Oh, he's so handsome.
You guys, I don't know, man. I'm like picturing your beard on him.
Hey! You didn't wear a tie?
No. I wear a tie all year. This is like my one chance I don't have to do it anymore.
Jeff's like, he like wrote me. He's like, all right. And I was like, yeah, wear a tie. He's like, wait, what?
I was like, oh, I've seen your show before. Is that a new thing?
Definitely not what's going on. All right, Jeff. So this is a fun little segment. So Jeff, I was telling John, I was like, I'm going to have Jeff on, like, as much as possible. And every single time he comes on, he's just going to, he's going to share a story from overseas or a cool story. And then he's going to just, belittle me in some way. So that's what
this show is all about, Kev.
Yeah. So I feel like if the guests are really nice to me, Jeff's got to come on and be like, like, you remember that time when you fell and got beat up by me? So Jeff, real quick, I do want to hear, because I feel like I don't even know these stories. Actually, I do. That's not true. But the people don't know these stories. But the one thing that we're going to talk about real quick is the LeBron, because, there's so much with LeBron. Super successful, a role model to all basketball players. I was just talking to someone today that we're going to have on the show eventually about the business side of basketball, and we were just talking about how smart LeBron has been in the business world. So kind of going into that, tell us your experience, being a teammate of LeBron James.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little while because you remember he's 18, and I'd already – like you had my 5 years in college with a redshirt year, a year overseas, a year in the D League, back over to Turkey. So I'd kind of been around a little bit and wasn't really part of his whole, just because I was out of the country, out of the world, I wasn't really paying attention to this rise of this kid. So when I got a chance, I was for me, it was just I got to make this team. This is everything I wanted to do. So I wasn't really focused on that. And then you kind of, here you go, you meet LeBron and you realize this kid's 18. Look at this kid. And I remember he was guarding him one of the first days in practice for Summer League. And remember how high he would rise on his three-point shot. I'm thinking, I'm 7 foot. I'm guarding him. I'm going to give up the three and not let him just go by me and dunk. So I kind of slow close out, and he just rises up, and I'm looking at his numbers on his jersey, and I was like, I don't remember ever seeing that on another human being in all my years of basketball. Just wow. And it was a three-pointer. I don't even know who knows if he made it or not. I just remember being like, Jesus, this kid he's not, just 6'8", 240 as 18-year-old. It was unbelievable. And we used to joke before practice, come on, man, how old are you really? 22, 23, what's the real number here? And but
that's almost been exposed now because now you're like, the dude's 36 and still rocking. So if he was like legit 40, you know, like he wouldn't be able to do the things he can do. Trust me, at 40, like, you know, waking up in the middle of the night to pee is a common occurrence. So like, it's just these things that you can't fool it. It's you can't fool time, and he's killing it at 36.
it's unreal physically where he was, and then just mentally, like he knew how to play. He had like, we're getting off the bus for summer league, and there's like people on the fence, like the Beatles are coming in, like we had to pull our bus back in, like it was just like this crush of people coming up against like chain link fence, like oh front, like holy crap, like there was just, and he had the ability to kind of just focus that out and just play, and you can see it, and that's why I've always kind of looked at like it's crazy, and that's why I like what you do. You've always been pretty fair when you talk to other athletes, and you hear these, whatever the jerk of the moment is doing an ESPN show, LeBron stinks, or whatever Stephen A. Smith is saying, or whatever, what's the other guy, Bayless, or saying, you know, it's like one of these guys, like, here's a guy, 18 years in the NBA, more in the spotlight his entire life, married, kids, has not. He never Tiger Woods moment. He didn't have any of these, none of that stuff. You know, he was legit guy. And that's where the person I saw, like, he was just good guy. And I was worried he might have been too nice. Like, he might not have that edge. And I think he's developed that later in his career a little bit to kind of like that Larry Bird, Michael Jordan type edge where it's just like, I am going to destroy you type of thing.
Yeah.
But whatever, you know, whatever it was remarkable. And I was always super impressed just right away. It was just so impressive right away that he kind of had an aura to him. It was like, all right, this guy's a real deal.
That's so cool. And I feel like we've talked about this, but it's a fun story to kind of, you know, tell, because I always feel like even Rod Benson, remember John, Rod came on and talked about he's sitting down with Larry Bird when he was with the Pacers, and Larry Bird was like, dude, stop fucking blogging, but like was so nice to him and like so cool with him. And Larry Bird was telling these stories about, you know, his time. And it's like, that's crazy because so many people have interacted with, you know, these guys, and you know, they're bigger than life, especially LeBron, like larger than life. And I always think about like LeBron, and I can say LeBron is probably the most recognizable athlete in the world. And you have the Ronaldos, because listen, we've lived, both Jeff and I both lived overseas, and you see it, and like, you know, you see the Ronaldos and the Messis, how incredibly popular they are. But LeBron's is transcendent. Like, you know, he's every continent. He's you know, the most recognizable player, and like Jeff said, he's just a down to earth dude. And that was super cool to kind of like be able to, you know, I remember going up and watching Jeff in summer league and kind of like, you know, like hanging out and being like, hey, I'm Jeff's brother. And like those moments. And, you know, it's like, it's kind of cool to kind of have that experience where you're kind of like, oh my God, like I've met LeBron James and you like played with LeBron James. It's like a super cool experience to kind of have now that we're old and we're just sharing stories and
just the whole not famous that we are, even overseas famous, I guess. Like there was one night, bunch of us went to the movies, you know, like 5 or 6 of the guys on the team. He was one of them. I was there, and I don't remember what we saw, but like, he's like, he asked me, he's like, can you get like some popcorn and like Twizzlers or something like that? Cause it was like, he just had to get in the movie to get sat down. Like it was just, and he was 18. I'm like, I'm a 25-year-old, like hustling Twizzlers for a kid. And it was like, all right, there it is. That's what's happening.
Oh my God, that's so cool. Jeff, and these are my favorite part of these segments, because I was like, I need Jeff to come on this, like, because he's got way more stories than I do. And like, you know, the ridiculousness of our lives, and like, you know, when I wrote the book, I was like coming off my stories, but I'm also thinking like there's a lot of stuff about, you know, how I got into my career, and in the book I put a lot on Jeff. You know, like he like opened the door for me, but I had to kick that bitch down. And that was like one of those things where like, you know, I kind of like was always looking at Jeff and just being like, oh shit, like this is what I have to be. Because and I feel like I always tell this story when people compare us. I'm like, I was like a freaking little kid. Like I remember there's a video, and I remember we did so many home movies. We did a video where like I was like the karate trainee and you were the master. And like, I remember I was like, watched that when I was like kind of an adult or like in my 20s. And I was like, holy shit. Like, I can't believe that, like, you looked like you were my dad. I mean, you look like a kid, but like you were so much bigger. And I was just like this little kid, like with a squeaky voice. And it's crazy. Just like your growth was a gradual and mine was like, which is pretty much my maturity level as well. I was like, just like slowly. Oh, a little more mature. A little more mature. Oh, back down.
We took, the big guys, we take a little longer in the oven. That's the, you look at like somebody like LeBron, I'm just looking at myself at 18 when I was, probably maybe 6'9", 180 pounds. Like that was different people. I had a little more left to go. I don't think I had to shave till I was like 22. So
no, definitely. That's why I have
You've made up for it though. You've definitely.
Yeah.
So wait, so Kev, are you taller than Jeff?
No, Jeff's taller than I am.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
You're about a half inch on you, I think.
Yeah, you definitely, because like I feel like family photos, even like although we weren't able to take it this year, but like family photos, it's like you can definitely tell Jeff's taller than me.
Kev's got better hair than me.
Yeah.
He's still got it. It's
Whoa!
gorgeous. Look at that. Look at that hairline. It's gorgeous.
It's luscious.
Yes, mine is luscious back here. And up here, it's packing a little bit, so that's gonna stay on.
It's the Viking beard oil. Let's go. Where's the Viking beard oil? Get that shit back out.
Viking
And
Revolution.
I'm also noticing, talking about.
Jeff, I don't even think I told Jeff this. Like
I gotta come to your radio show to talk to you now. You're becoming like. You're America famous.
Yeah. Well, that's what the one guy said. He's like, pretty soon, he's like, you keep doing this podcast, you're going to be American famous. I was like, oh, let's slow down. Yeah. But Viking Revolution sent me over a bunch of stuff. To kind of get my beard going. So yeah, when we get the beards
Jeff
growing,
is drinking water as you and I are drinking.
Yeah, it's fucking cheers.
Come on,
and
Jeff.
John,
it's been a long week.
Come on.
Tell you what, and this is where Kev talks about looking up to me, and it was where I looked at him. I can so not hang anymore. It's embarrassing. And Kev, if you want to embarrass me, you can tell me the last time we went out together, me, him, and our stepbrother, I think I made it to 8 o'clock, and the world was spinning. I was like, oh, I got to get home. And,
well, the best story about drinking with you was when we went to the 2008 World Series. Now, Jeff and I had tickets for every single playoff game, every single World Series game. We were sitting 2 rows back, 2 rows back behind Jason Worth. It was the greatest experience ever. It was just Jeff and I. We were sitting right next to, just like jumping up and down the whole time. We were so polite too, because we're such nice people that, like, you know how the seats, like, they fold up? Like, we were sitting on the seats because everyone else was standing in the stadium, but we were sitting because we could still see over the people in front of us, but if we stood, the people behind us couldn't see. So we were like almost sitting on our seats, like jumping up and down. I was like, I remember my legs were like burning, but
it's like doing wall sits.
Oh yeah, it was like wall sits for like, like inning after inning, game after game. And
I don't know how guys like you fit into those seats. Like your knees, like
you don't.
In front of you, like their head must have been between your knees.
Yeah, we're pretty much, it's like a sexual harassment case just going to a game. You're just like, excuse me, sir, why are you straddling me? I'm like, I'm just sitting. So we ended up, the game ended. The World Series was over. We got hammered. We were walking to Center City. I remember it was the only time, and I'm sure they're not still looking for people who broke glass, but we were like, we got a case of Corona, and we were all carrying it, like our whole group of like other people that we hung at or met after the game. We're carrying a case. We're just drinking and smashing the beers on Broad Street as we walked all the way. And then we got to took a train into Center City. It was like madness. So it's this crazy, fireworks are going off. People were like burning cars. We were like, this is awesome. And then all of a sudden I looked and I was like, where the hell did Jeff go? And I lost my mind. I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, this is like a riot right now. Is he okay? What happened? And then I was freaked out. And then I found that he just wandered off and took a train home. It's the ultimate Irish goodbye.
RUNNOFT. Yeah. I kind of forgot. That was a cool, but I do remember about that night, us speaking of kind of gigantic people, that me and you, those big potted plants on Broad Street. Yeah. They were knocked over. We were pulling them up.
Yeah.
And I remember the police kind of looking at us like, you guys are going to tear your backs out. We were just like big monsters, like, and we're like looking back, like, see, we're helping, like, like, you idiots. I'm surprised someone just come over and just club us in the head with.
Look at this riffraff knocking me over, and we're just like, we're gonna build the city back up.
We're fixing it,
brick by brick.
I do. There's a picture, Kev. I was gonna try to see what there's a picture. I was looking back through, because I was looking for you guys, looking back through old picture of my playing days for this, and I found there was a picture of us down there that night. I'm trying to share it. It's on my phone. I'll have to send it to you. But there is evidence.
John, we'll put it up because John.
I was gonna say,
John will just put it on the audio. Because the video, because like we could sit there and like John will put, whatever. There's all kinds of like, we fucking dancing leprechaun and dinosaur like in those little corners right now. And we're like, oh, how did that get here? All right, Jeff, you got an embarrassing story for me?
That's what I was thinking about. And you know what though? And I was like going back and forth. I was like, I don't remember like I look at my kids right now, my daughter will let my son have it. Like she will, she's 3 years older. If they're playing competitively, she will beat him and just humiliate him and just stomp him into the ground. Like if they're playing whatever game and make sure he knows about it. I was trying to think, the two one that came up is when we used to play baseball sometimes, like we actually with like an actual baseball. And we had the old, like, it was like a Mike Schmidt bat giveaway from a Phillies game. Like it was I was big, so I remember I could bring some heat a little bit as a, 12, and I was fired at you. And you were definitely not real happy. You had no helmet or anything. Like we were just sure hit you a few times too, but it was over like Avon Field or something stuff like that. Like that was one. But then, do you remember the crappy boxing game from Commodore 64?
Yes.
It was a terrible game. John, I'm not sure how old you are, John. How old are you, John?
I'm 34. I'm 35.
35.
Right.
You're getting there. You're not there yet. We were a little behind. We didn't have like a Nintendo like the 90s. We were a little behind the times. We had this old crappy computer of like the mid 80s and had this terrible boxing game on that we played all the time. Literally, the game was whoever pushed the button first and got the first punch, it was over. Because like the way the game reacted, like if you got hit, your guy took a second, you couldn't move. So like you just start wailing away once you got good, and the other person, nothing you can do. You're just pressing buttons, and it's just you're just getting till your power goes down to zero. And I remember like, especially because I was at our house, at my dad's house, and I got better at it, and I would just dominate, just like boom, 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 boom. It was just like you couldn't do a thing. It was so frustrating.
It's like the World Series, right? You're like, I fucking won!
Yeah. And meanwhile, it was like there's nothing you could do. You're just like, once that person knew to get that first punch in, you're just sitting there mashing buttons. And like, there's nothing more frustrating than losing video games over and over on a rainy day because there was nothing else to do. It was like 6 hours of just getting your ass kicked.
Oh my God. Like that was, that I remember because it was such and it wasn't like a Street Fighter game that like you start to get beat, you could dodge and figure it out. Like you just got your ass kicked and there was no skill involved. It was like just hitting the button as hard as you could. It was so dumb.
Is just being introduced to like video games, and we're playing the Star Wars. What's that game, Kev? We were talking about the Star Wars Battle.
Force Awakens.
Nah, Battlefront.
Oh yeah.
Let me tell you, he fucking kicks my ass. He's 8.
Oh.
And I'm just like, we tried to do the version where like you're actually like flying the TIE fighters.
Yeah.
I didn't do a goddamn thing the entire like round. And he's like, suck it, Dad. Like, like he doesn't say that, but he says like, I got you. But in my mind, I translate it as suck it, Dad. Like,
like, he'll be saying that if he's 8. He'll be saying that soon. Son of a.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, that's like real. That's a real demoralizer right there to just be like, because that he's just like it just takes a look from him like beat you again, and you're like, and like it's like
between the lines.
You love him with all your heart. It's like the greatest human being in the world. Like I can think of it like Olivia. There's like times when I'm just like, shut the fuck up. Like you're just kind of like, you're like, don't.
You're gonna play this all. Then I've become my dad because we used to whip our parents because they had nothing. Like they had no experience with it. So at least now, like my kids are young enough. They use the Nintendo Switch, so we'll play like Mario Kart. I can still beat them most of the time. It's not automatic. but like they're starting to get pretty good, so I just haven't been playing as much.
Yeah.
So you guys play together.
I'm busy. I'll watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, Liv beat me like multiple times in a row in Mario Kart, and I was like, it was like those old days were kind of going back. I was like, and I was trying to be like super. I was like, oh, good job, motherfucker. And I was just like, God, why would I pick Bowser right here? Like, of all characters,
wheels,
slowest one. Oh my God, Jeff, this is awesome. You got it. So Jeff's going to be a recurring guest on the show and just tell stories about overseas, and then we're just going to fuck around for a little bit. So that was fun. That was a good time. Thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Hey, thank you guys. John, really nice meeting you. Keep doing what you're doing, Kev. It's a lot of fun. I'm glad to be part of it.
Yeah, awesome. So Jeff's going to be a recurring character. Good times. All right. Awesome. John, what we got? We closing out?
Yeah, man. I'm rocking the hat today. Kevin Owens dropped by my place of work the other day with this beauty. I'm a hat guy, if you guys haven't noticed, and I dig it. We got this nice hat with mesh on the back. I can do the backwards thing like I like to do it. And I actually had someone the other day say to me, I was wearing this thing. They were like, I need the hat. So I think the merch is getting out there, brother.
It is, and it's crazy because I just got a text from my manufacturer. She's like my go-between between like the actual like building and like she's almost like the sales, but she doesn't live too far, so she's just like, I just dropped off a bunch of stuff on your porch. She's like, and I was like, oh sweet, and she's like, the only thing I'm missing is the green sweatshirt. And I'm like, son of a bitch. You got the gray one, so I'll bring that over to you tomorrow, but nice. We'll get the green one. She said will be here in like 2 days, so we're all golden.
And don't forget to let everyone know about the contest. We're giving some stuff
away. Shit, did we talk to Michaela?
No, listen, Michaela's messing me up here. I'm looking on the Instagram, and she wrote something like, this is still open. Winner will be announced next week.
Okay.
I don't know. Michaela.
Well, I feel like this show is going to go next week. So this show will go out next week. Let's just give it to Erin.
She's got the timing right.
Yeah.
This will be next week because we were working right now.
We got Jake this week.
Jake Fisher.
Yes.
The Sports Illustrated writer that's coming along. Actually, that's all done. So we're just basically teasing it a little bit. And yeah, we'll have this one. This is neat because we have multiple people on. Your brother, the LeBron stuff.
Yeah.
So things are kind of trucking along. We'll have to have your brother at the. I think your brother would be a nice addition to possibly the overseas famous Christmas party.
Oh, absolutely. He'd be a good time because Jeff can throw him back when like you let him loose. Yeah, he can go, but it's like getting that like there's a lot of external factors to get him that looseness and like.
Listen, when you're a dad, like it's like that. Once it's like for me, it was
the Christmas party,
famous Christmas party, man. I haven't been like that since I don't know Justin James's bachelor party.
Oh, that was so much fun.
Woo, Justin James.
And we'll stop talking about that now. All right, so again, you know what? Let's announce it, and if we have to edit it out, we will. All right, so I think Aaron Maxey was the first to comment. He posted the thing to 3 people, and he also asked about the merchandise, like where the website. So I was like, you know what, let's get him a free shirt.
Awesome.
So Aaron will send you out a free shirt, and that's our first winner. And we're gonna have a few more of these promos.
That's awesome. Aaron he was following us all day on the Instagram, all the stuff that I was posting today, and he's been real interactive, and I actually I just took a quick look at his episode that we posted a week ago, and the views on that were up above average on some of our other episodes on YouTube.
Nice.
So
that's awesome.
That's nice to know that we're gaining some traction on the YouTube front. We got to get some more subscribers
there,
because it's the same show, just a little bit, a little visual action,
Well, Aaron, you are the winner. We're going to have other contests. Guys, please subscribe to our iTunes, Overseas Famous. If you're listening to this, hit the subscribe button so we can get some subscriptions. Go to youtube.com, search Overseas Famous, subscribe to that as well. And, leave comments, leave ratings, give us ratings, get this show going. We're slowly but surely trying to grow. And, check out overseasfamous.com if you want some merch. And, John, this has been a good time.
You guys start funding the trip to Australia.
Seriously, we got to get that fund for our Australia trip to get for all of us, the whole entire crew, to go to Australia and be noticed by Australian NBL in the crowd. So that will be fun. So big shout out to Jon Guarna for joining us tonight.
Thank you, John.
Again, thank you to my brother for hopping on, Jeff Owens, telling some LeBron stories. And again, a huge shout out to Michaela Hall for doing her thing and keeping it real. And obviously, big shout out to John Hunt for producing, doing all the dirty work, and getting this done, giving up his time. It's been awesome. We appreciate it, and this has been a great show. We appreciate you guys. Awesome, John. Any last thoughts?
Hey, man, keep rooting.
Keep doing it. All right, guys. Overseas Famous out.
Later.
It's young money, motherfucker. If you ain't running with it, run from it, motherfucker. Alright, now somebody show some money in this bitch. And I got my bees with me like some honey in this bitch. You dig? I got my gun in my boot purse, and I don't bust back because I shoot first. Meet me on the fresh train. Yes, I'm in the building. You just on the list of guest names. And all of my riders do not give a X games. Guns turn you boys into sex change. And I smoke till I got chest pains. And you niggas know I rep my gang like Jesse James. Women are possessive and they wanna possess Wayne. I've been fly so long I fell asleep on the plane. Skinny pants and some Vans. Call me Triple A, get my advance.